I know you're going to enjoy this. It has been my honor and privilege to interview one of the most charming, one of the most intelligent, and one of the most business savvy entrepreneurs I think we've ever had on United Black America Radio. She is the founder of the Danetha Doe consulting firm that provides financial growth consulting for brands that are passionate about changing their local communities while achieving sustainable financial growth. You might have seen her on the Huffington Post. You might have seen her on Live with Susie Orman. Her billboards are all over the California Bay Area because she's a brand ambassador for Bike East Bay. She's been named one of the business influencers and next generation accountants by QuickBooks. She's the host of Future of Money. It's a weekly radio show sponsored by Libra, which is a tax compliance software change. So this sister's really doing it big. You all are going to enjoy this. Welcome to United Black America Radio, Danetha Doe. How you feeling?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much, Asad. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
I'm really excited to have you. We were talking a little bit before we started, and I let you know that I've been looking forward to this all week, and I really have. I have so many questions when it comes to the financial space. I know our listeners do too. It's an essential component of entrepreneurship that a lot of us either avoid or outsource because we just don't understand how we can proactively approach the topic. And so I'm glad to have a subject matter expert on to kind of demystify all of that. But before we get into the technicals, I want to hear your story. How did you go from being a cheerleader for the Colts and not just I auditioned and they said I was on, but I never hit the field. You were actually on the field, right? So that was turning into a career for you. Is that right?
Absolutely. And, it's so funny. I would never have thought I would become an NFL cheerleader. It wasn't something, I didn't cheer or dance growing up. I was a track runner. I ran track from the age of 5 through sophomore year in college and never had dance training. And
really?
The Colts had won the Super Bowl the year before. And I saw the ladies on the field and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Like, I'm just going to try out. I'm not going to make it. I don't have any skill or talent other than, probably the raw dance talent that I guess I have. So I showed up to the auditions, and looking back on it, I cringed because I look at pictures and I just looked a hot mess.
You did not. I was doing some research before the show. You do not look define hot mess. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny. I mean, the ladies that auditioned, they're really glamorous. They had the most beautiful outfits, all sequins. They had their full makeup on, and I just came with just regular makeup, a black tank, black shorts, and the process was 6 weeks long. And as I continued to make it through each week, it was surreal, honestly, because I didn't think I was going to make it up until they actually announced that I made it. And yeah, it was exciting. I did it for 2 seasons during probably one of the best years within Colts history. So a lot of fun, a lot of opportunities came about because of that.
I bet. So what happened with that? How come that didn't become a career for you? How come you didn't stick around? Because a lot of the women listening, I mean, that's a dream come true. And that's kind of like a Cinderella story, like, I'm not really planning on succeeding at this. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're in there. You're an NFL cheerleader, So why didn't you stick with that? What happened?
Sure. Well, a couple of things happened. I was living in Indianapolis, and I love the state of Indiana, but I wanted to move to the West Coast. My family had moved to the West Coast. I had always dreamed of living in California, and I just wanted to explore other opportunities. So that was part of the reason why I decided not to audition again come the 3rd season. And secondly, and I do talk a lot about this, there have been some lawsuits against the NFL and particularly some teams in regards to lack of pay for cheerleaders. It's not a lucrative position by any means. You cannot do it full time. Not at all. You cannot do it full time and expect to support yourself. So that was another thing. It wasn't something something that I could sustain. I would love to have been able to do it as a career, but the opportunities as far as monetarily were not there, and they still aren't there.
Wow. That's really interesting because we all know that the NFL is a multi billion dollar industry in and of itself. We're not talking about sports, we're just talking the NFL. So you're telling me that they're not willing to come up off of some of that for the cheerleaders.
Yes, well, and there's a couple of reasons for that too. It is potentially talking to a more general discussion as far as the disparity in pay between men and women. We could go down that route. There is
Absolutely.
definitely that within the arena of sports. When it comes to the cheerleaders, though, that's a segment of their business that isn't actually it doesn't make them money. It doesn't. The profits just aren't there for them to justify paying the ladies more than what they do. So there's
Hmm.
that aspect of it as well. If the league were to spend more time, more resources in really developing that side of their business to actually generate revenue, I think we would see an increase in pay for the ladies. But until that happens, it does lose money for them, and as a result, the women just aren't paid what they should be paid to do that
Sure.
work.
Sure. Sure. So, I will definitely say that the West Coast is the best coast. So your decision was the right one. You're currently in San Francisco right now. So take us from you leaving the NFL. What were you doing, by the way, in addition to being an NFL cheerleader for the Colts? What were you doing?
Sure. So my first season, I was still in school. I was
Hmm.
studying economics with a focus in accounting. I also minored in mass communications, which I love. I love marketing. I love PR. So I was in school for the first season.
Hmm.
And then the second season, I had a job. I was working as an accountant for a small health insurance company.
Hmm.
And that was a lot of fun. I was also doing modeling because of being a cheerleader. You are exposed to different opportunities. So I was
Sure.
just hustling, doing a lot of different things, but my main job was being an accountant. And after that, I moved to Arizona where my parents lived.
Mm.
And I had started a business. I was going to provide active wear to professional dancers and cheerleaders.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was fun. And I was 20 at the time. So I'm not sure about you at that age, but at least for me, I thought I knew everything and I clearly
Yes.
didn't.
Yes, yes.
I was like, I have a degree. I know something about business. I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I was like, oh, this is going to be easy.
Sure.
And and at first, it seemed like it would be. I was doing well. I lined up some contracts. And as you know, the NFL isn't in season, or sports aren't in season all year long. So you
Hmm.
have a period where you have to figure out how to make money. I did not plan for that and
Mm.
completely went broke. And that's when I realized, oh, that's what they talk about in an accounting class as far as like cash flow. That's what this means when you don't literally have no money coming in and have bills to pay and trying to figure that out. And unfortunately, at that time, it was right after the 2008 financial crisis, and
Mm.
there were no jobs available. I was overqualified because of my degree and underqualified because I didn't have enough experience. And so I was just in between a rock and a hard place. So I ended up getting a job in the Grand Canyon as a hostess for a restaurant, making like $9 an hour. It included my meals, my housing, and I was able to hike. And that went well for a few months, and then that closed, that area of the business, and I was homeless. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anywhere to go. I was fortunate to have my laptop, and yeah, I had to figure it out, and ended up finding another seasonal job in a ski town shortly thereafter, where I moved to in California.
Wow. Wow. So that's kind of a harrowing story right there. So you end up in California with your laptop, and then what?
Yeah, I had my laptop and two bags. I took a shuttle because I couldn't afford a plane ticket. So I took a shuttle to this mountain called Mammoth Mountain in California.
I've been
And
there.
yeah, I
I know
lived
Mammoth
there for,
Mountain. Yeah.
you know, Mammoth.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's beautiful.
It
It's
is.
right outside Yosemite. Yeah, so I moved there. I got a job as a hotel front desk staff member and worked Mammoth is like a live ski resort in that
Hmm.
there's a lot of money that comes through. I mean,
There
if you're
is.
going on a ski vacation. So it was really interesting being in a position where I had no money and working with people that had access to a lot of resources. And so I worked there for about a year behind the hotel desk, and a job opened up in accounting. And I applied. They didn't realize I had a background in accounting previously. So I was fortunate to land that position and became a part of their staff accounting team for the
Mm.
next 2 years.
Wow. Wow. So you really do have a passion for this accounting thing.
Yes, for me, it comes from two different things. I think my personal experience realizing that how important accounting is for business and understanding the numbers is essential if you want to stay in business. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how important it was when I started my first company. So it really hit me hard that I needed to understand accounting. And secondly, it's I find that we aren't taught it in school, in life, how to manage money, whether you're a business owner or your own personal finances. It's knowledge that's not really shared or easily accessible. So
Not at
I do have a
all.
passion. Yeah, at all. So I do have a passion for it personally, as well as helping others that are either in my situation or don't have the means to learn about this area of business or life.
Right, right. At the inception of our conversation, I was talking about the fact that a lot of people don't understand accounting. They don't understand finance, and in a lot of ways, we use the word out of context because we weren't given that background. You know, everything was about standardized tests, from the California Achievement Test to the SATs to entrance exams, and even beyond that. You know, you got the MCAT and things like that, PSAT and stuff like that. So I don't think we've ever been given that body of knowledge, but luckily we have Danetha Doe with us. And so, getting into the body of our conversation, the meat and potatoes of our conversation, you're going to help us demystify some of that. Is that right?
I hope I can help. That's what I'm passionate about doing.
Beautiful. I also caught a couple of your interviews. So, is this a unique perspective for you? Usually you're the one doing the interviewing, and now you're being interviewed. How does that feel? How you like that?
That is a great question. I was just thinking that this is a little bit different for me because, yes, I'm usually the one asking the questions and reflecting upon the answers, and now I'm the one giving the information. So it is a different experience.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a great show that you do. It's called Future of Money.
It is. It is.
In that show, Future of Money, I mean, you're hitting on some really high level topics. You're talking about blockchains and you're talking about digital currency and you're talking about accounting software and platforms and things like that. And I was like, I have no idea what she's talking about. So at the end, I had a whole list of questions and I was like, you know what? Let me just reach out to her and see if I can interview her for United Black America Radio. And so here you are. Again, it's a great show, particularly if you have no idea what's going on in that industry, because it'll give you the right questions to ask. And I think that's critical. I think a lot of times when we're approaching a new topic, we don't even know what questions to ask, right? Like you'll do a presentation, you'll do a speech because you do public speaking and lectures and things of that nature, right?
I do. And
Hmm.
you're right. The future of money, it's touching on some pretty technical areas of accounting.
Definitely.
So the premise of the show is to talk about how digital currency is affecting the accounting profession as well as impacting global economies. So
Mm.
economies that don't have access to a traditional banking system. And yeah, digital currency is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And those within the industry are still trying to wrap their head around how it's really going to play out. I mean, if you can think back to when the internet first came out, that's really what we're dealing with digital
Yeah.
currency is trying to figure out what this thing will look like.
Yeah. When the internet first came out, I remember that you would have to go to some shady looking website. And if there was something that you wanted to buy on that website, like a service or a product, you would have to go and get a money order, mail it into them, right? And they would confirm that they got your money order online via email or Lycos chat or something like that. And then you cross your fingers and hope you get your product. The very first thing I ever ordered online, and this is pre-digital currency, of course, was a pair of Jordans from China.
I love
It
it.
it was not yeah, you can imagine. You can imagine. Things have gotten a lot better now. Thank God, but I don't know what I got in the mail, but it definitely wasn't what I ordered. So now we are in the age of, or we are at least in the advent of digital currency. Some of us are trying to figure out hard currency. So what is digital currency as far as you see it?
Sure. And this is a definition that's still being morphed and changes. Digital currency is the best analogy I can put it to is the internet money. So just like how you described having to send a money order, if anyone listening remembers what money orders are, it's like a check, but you have to send a physical form somewhere else, wait for them to cash it, and in the meantime, hope that you're going to get your product and they're not going to screw you out of that product that they're supposed to send you. Now we've taken that a step further. You can just type in your credit card information, the money's magically sent to that person, and then you magically get your product. Now, instead, taking that next step, digital currency, you don't have to type in your credit card number. You have a wallet that's housed in the internet, and that wallet has money in it, and you can just send that money through the internet to the next person or company and then receive your goods.
So we're talking PayPal. Or are we talking a step beyond PayPal?
I'm glad you brought that up. We're talking a step beyond PayPal. So PayPal still requires you to have a bank account. And PayPal either detracts money from the bank account or you can house money within PayPal, but you've had to take it out of another bank account in order to do that. This process is really great for those that are unbanked, which is a huge issue. Outside of the United States, it's a number like 50 to 60% of individuals do not have access to a traditional bank. So this is allowing those that don't have a bank account who then cannot open up a PayPal account and then cannot engage in any type of internet transaction. This is allowing them to really be a part of the 21st century commerce, which is mostly internet-based and allows you to hold money outside of a bank in a secure platform.
So are we talking about the M-Pesas of the world, the Bitcoins of the world, things like that?
Exactly. M-Pesa is such an amazing company, doing a lot of good work within Kenya. Bitcoin is certainly one. There's a company called Stellar is so amazing. It's another form of currency, just like Bitcoin. And their whole premise is it's a nonprofit, first of all. The others are for profit. And it's a nonprofit that's bringing the idea of credit back to the community. So I went to a presentation of theirs recently. And so when we think of our credit score here, it's things like, okay, have you paid back your student loans? Have you paid on your car loans? And there's a lot of issues within our credit rating that I won't get into. But at the end of the day, you have a score, and that basically helps banks, whomever, determine if you're worthy to get a loan. So instead of basing information, not all communities are using that information to determine if you're worthy of a loan, though. So if you're in another country, the number of cows you have might be something that they consider something that needs to be considered in order to determine if you're worthy of a loan. Or if you're really well connected as far as the people that you know. So a company like Stellar is trying to push for those types of initiatives to happen, really bringing the idea of money back to the community and really making it localized, which I think is beautiful.
It is. I've never been a fan of big banks. I've never been a fan of the credit scoring agencies. It just so happens I have a good credit score, but the whole process, I mean, it seems sterile and it seems unrealistic for a lot of people. And so I think we're on the same page there. I know a lot of listeners might not be familiar with digital currency because, again, a lot of us are trying to figure out hard currency. So, where exactly does this money come from? So, let's say, for the purposes of this conversation, we're only talking about Bitcoin. Okay, let's just focus on Bitcoin as a digital currency. So, this isn't something that you can print out and hold, right? This is something that's used for online transactions. They're not literal coins. I think you can go to the ATM and withdraw money from your Bitcoin, but I'm not sure about that. I'd like you to touch on that. But how do you get a Bitcoin? How do you determine the value of a Bitcoin? If I'm not putting money into a receptacle, a container, an account, where does Bitcoin come from, and how do I spend it?
Sure, that's a great question. So, where does Bitcoin come from? That is a really technical area that I actually can't speak to because it is mostly dealing with software engineers and how they calculate. It's based upon an algorithm, it's all mathematical, how these coins, these virtual coins, are produced. And how you get them is you start a wallet online. So let's say, I guess the best analogy is you start a PayPal account. You start a wallet
Sure.
online and you can trade and get Bitcoin into your wallet. Now, you can either do that from using actual dollars that you have in your bank account, or you can go through a process if you don't have a bank account to get that Bitcoin into your wallet. What's it worth? That's part of the issue with Bitcoin digital currency. It's all new. We're still trying to figure out what this is going to look like. So the value fluctuates tremendously to the point where it's not actually worth holding money within Bitcoin because you're going to lose a lot, or you might gain a lot. There have been a lot of people that have gained a lot from holding it, but the potential of you losing a lot of money is really high. So what people tend to do is automatically transfer it into USD, US dollars, or whatever currency you use. So that's Bitcoin. That's how you get it. How can you spend it? As long as the company accepts Bitcoin, you can spend it. So here within the Bay Area where I live, we have some physical places where that you can spend your Bitcoin because we are in the digital currency hub. This is where they think it was born. We actually don't know who created Bitcoin. It's a mystery. So there are there are places.
What's the guy's name? Satoshi.
Yeah, Nakamoto.
There's Satoshi Nakamoto or something like that, and we don't even know if it's really a Japanese guy. We don't know who created Bitcoin. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's been proliferating ever since.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it might be a guy, it might be a group of people. We have no idea.
Yeah.
So it depends. As far as where you can spend it, there are companies that are popping up pretty much every day accepting it. What's the company that's really big? Overstock now accepts Bitcoin. Microsoft apps now accept Bitcoin. There's a fun app now on Twitter where instead of favoriting a tweet, you can send them Bitcoin by favoriting if you use this app called Change Tip. So you can send like $5, say someone, or a couple bucks if someone sent out a tweet that really inspired you that day. Instead of just favoriting it, you can like it and send them some money. So so there's a lot of different new ways that are popping up every day as far as how you can spend your Bitcoin.
Wow. So, and we're jumping around a little bit. What does this mean for us street level entrepreneurs, right? So what is digital currency doing to the whole financial ecosystem? What is it doing to the finance sector? What does it mean for accountants? In other words, what impact is digital currency having on our economy, and how can we take advantage of it? That's really what I'm looking for. How can I come up using Bitcoin? How can I take advantage of maybe some conversion rates, or what does this mean for us street level entrepreneurs and hustlers?
Sure. Street level hustlers. The biggest impact we're going to see now is globally. So my advice is to really start researching countries within the continent of Africa, really emerging economies, if that's something that you're interested in. Again, if you're an entrepreneur, you know that you should really only jump into things that you have some interest in. So if you're
Sure.
interested in emerging economies, that's where we're going to see the biggest impact because it's really going to help those that are under and unbanked. As far as here
Mm,
within the States, we're going to see impacts not hit street level quite yet. We have a really solid financial institution system. And so we're going to have to see changes on the institutional level. So these are big banks that are going to have to
mm,
deal with this first, and then it's going to trickle down to us. So that's going to take some time. I would say if you want to take advantage, though, researching this area, this topic, and really just familiarize yourself with the lingo, the companies that are the big players, because an opportunity that's going to speak to your skill set is going to arrive. And once you're ready, once it does, you want to be ready for it. But until then, just stay abreast of what's happening because it's here, it's going to stay, and the impact is still evolving and changing.
mm. So the best way for us to get ahead of that curve is to start educating ourselves right now. What resources could you suggest? Because to be honest with you, outside of just Googling, I don't really know where to get the information I need to take advantage of Bitcoin when it gets here. So do you have some favorite resources? Do you teach maybe a course on digital currency? Hint, hint. If you don't, maybe you should. But
That
yeah,
I
what can we
love that
learn?
idea. I should start teaching a course. Thank you for that tip. Yeah, actually, yes. So my site, danethadoe.com, has some information as well
Hmm.
as I would check out coindesk.com. That's the best media resource as far as what's happening within the States and globally in
Mm.
regards to digital currency.
Coindesk.com.
CoinDesk.
Got it. Got it.
So I would start there.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So we can start educating ourselves to get ahead of that curve. And speaking of the street level entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
So the typical person getting started, running their business, they again tend to avoid this area because they don't really understand it. Now, you have been involved in accounting for a long time, and in fact, you run an agency. Is that right? You have Danetha Doe Consulting, and you also have a number of different projects. Do you want to talk a little bit about those and what you have going on in that space as an entrepreneur?
Sure, sure. I'd be happy to. So yeah, so I moved to California 6 years ago, moved to the Bay Area 3 years ago. And when I moved to the Bay Area, I started a bookkeeping business catering to beauty and fashion professionals, helping them get their books in order, organized, and then using that information to grow their business. And
Mm-hmm.
since then, have expanded my company, Danetha Doe Consulting, to work with fintech and accounting firms on helping them reach communities that have previously been ignored. And a part of that
Mm.
is really the language and how they present information. It's not accessible if available at all. So that's what we do now is really helping those within the financial industry connect with communities like ours, whether it's millennial entrepreneurs, it's entrepreneurs of color, women entrepreneurs is a big passion of mine is really helping women understand their finances and become financially independent and helping
Mm.
them craft materials so that it's speaking to those communities.
No doubt, no doubt. So, with that being said, you, I'm assuming, help entrepreneurs assemble their quote unquote financial toolboxes as part of what you do at Danetha Doe Consulting. Is that right?
We do. So now it's mostly workshops and
Mm-hmm.
really putting together material for these bigger firms to help their clients figure out how to best organize their information. So a lot of what we talk about is the technology.
Sure.
Nowadays, we have access to really awesome tools to help us stay on top of our accounting. Before it was all pen and paper or an Excel spreadsheet, which if you already
Yeah.
are scared of doing your books, that's not going to make it any better because it's a lot of work to stay on top of it if you're using Excel or pen and paper. So as far as toolbox, what should you have in your toolbox is what we talk
Yeah.
about
Give
at
us
the
some
top.
tools.
Sure.
Give us some tools.
Some tools. Yeah, the first thing I would start with if you're an entrepreneur is separating your business and personal finances. Now, I will preface that by saying that banks are charging more for you to hold accounts. The likelihood of you getting a free account is slim to none, depending on the bank that you work with. So if it
Mm,
has to be two personal accounts, that's okay. Just try to separate them so you can get into the mindset of this is my personal expenses, these are my business expenses, and I'll treat them as such. And then the second step is using a bookkeeping program. So something automated so that your expenses are immediately pulled from your bank account into this program so you can easily categorize your different expenses, whether it's
mm,
marketing, rentals, whatever your business calls for, really being able to
sure.
separate it. And that's helpful for two reasons. A lot of times when I talk to entrepreneurs, the first thing they think about is taxes. How much can I write off in taxes? I want to make sure that I'm writing off everything that I can. And that's important, but I like to say that's like looking at your studying for a test after you've gotten your report card. Once it's time to file your taxes, if you've waited until the time to file your taxes to look back at your finances, the game's done. There's no way for you to recover. There's no way for you to plan your business, similar to if you waited until you got your report card to start studying for the exam.
Sure.
It doesn't work that way. So with using a bookkeeping program, you're able to categorize your expenses throughout the year and really see how your business is performing
Mm.
throughout the year and making sure that it's healthy financially.
Okay, so going back to step one, separating business and personal expenses,
Mhm.
using me as a guinea pig, right? I use PayPal for all of my business expenses, right? I keep track of everything in PayPal. Is that a viable low cost solution? Can I integrate what I have in my PayPal account with some accounting software, which of course we're going to talk about accounting software and some of the tools that we can use in terms of bookkeeping in just a second. But is that a good option? Because I'm a lean startup kind of dude, right? And I keep everything as lean as possible in terms of expenditure. I'm not trying to pay a bank $500 to open up a corporate account. You know what I'm saying? I don't need all that sexy accoutrement and the American Express and all that. I don't need it. So PayPal is where I put that's kind of like my business account. Does that work? Is that compliant?
Sure, it absolutely is a compliant. And accounting software does not, it also integrates with PayPal. All the ones that I have come across integrates with PayPal. That's totally a legit way of running your business. I would say taking that a step further, just make sure you're consistent with that. So if you have determined that PayPal is the way you're going to run your business expenses, pay out your business expenses, fine. Just make sure you're consistent about doing that and not also using credit card X over here, bank account A over here. Just keep it to that one account.
Got it. Got it. And that is something I am terrible at. So thank you for that reminder. I was just at Starbucks this morning and I was like, let me use the PayPal account. All bad. So, okay. So we got that part down. Separate our business and our personal expenses. Well, getting into the technicals of that, how do we start to do that? You know what I mean? So does this mean I need a separate card for everything that I do business wise? What if I am selling bottled water on the side of the street and I'm taking cash payments right there? I mean, how do I legitimize that? Is it even possible? Should I even be focusing on legitimizing that at that level? Or should I just wait until my hustle is really bringing in a decent amount of income? In other words, I'm able to pay all of my bills. You know, where should the person that's just starting up go from there? I'm thinking about barbers in particular, stylists that are basically conducting cash transactions throughout the day. You know, how do we deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So when it comes to cash, I would assume that you would deposit into your bank account. So that's your way of tracking the revenue coming in. Now, we've all been there, and I definitely remember when I was there, when you are just starting your business and everything that comes in from the business is going straight to your personal expenses. If you are
Yeah.
still in that spot as an entrepreneur, it is fine to not separate your business and personal accounts. You want to get to a place where you are stable, and stable meaning you have a good sense of how much money you're going to bring into the business, and you know how much of that is going back to the business, how much is going to your personal stuff. Once you get to that place, then yes, separate that. Until that point, it might be too much of a headache to deal with too many accounts, because right now you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. You're trying to figure out everything you can about a business. And as entrepreneurs, we have to wear so many hats and figure out so many things that you never thought that you would have to figure out, whether it's building a website or whatever things have to get done. So until that point, your goal is just to make sure that you're staying above water, in my opinion.
Got it. Got it. So once we do reach the point where we've started separating our business and our personal expenses because we balling now, you mentioned bookkeeping programs. How does that work?
Sure. Can I take a step back, though? If you are still in that spot when you are still building your business, do have an idea of what your goal is for you to separate the business and personal. And what I mean by that, if you calculate how much it costs you to live your life. Let's just say it's $1,000. Have that goal in mind and know that once you hit $1,000 for a month, consistently, say 3 months, think about separating your business and personal. It just puts your mindset in another place of really treating your business separately from your personal. So to answer your question about bookkeeping programs, which bookkeeping program?
Going back to what you were just talking about, we talk a lot about economic liberation. And what that means for us is leaving your job, particularly for those people that hate their jobs. But there are a lot of people that really love what they do, and some of them even love the company that they work for, and it's fine for them to stay there. But what you can be doing for them and getting paid a fraction of what you're worth, you could be doing for yourself and getting your full value is what I say. So if you love working for that company, start your consultancy, start your enterprise, and hire them, or let them hire you rather. And so one of the numbers that I have my clients focus on and members of our organization is how much money is it going to take for you to walk away from this job and not feel nervous about it, right? On the East Coast, typically it's about $5,000 a month. Like if I'm bringing in $5,000 a month, I'm not balling, but I can confidently walk away from my job and say that, I'm in business for myself and be legitimate with that statement. So yeah, I really like that piece of advice. Fix a number in your head. And once you hit that number, now it's time to legitimize your hustle. Now it's time to take it to the next level. And so my question for you, going back to bookkeeping programs, is, first of all, why do I even need a bookkeeping program? Can I just keep track of these numbers myself? And second of all, if you convince me that I need a bookkeeping program, what can you recommend?
Well, let's see if we get to the second question.
Feel me?
So,
because I ain't trying to spend no money. I know these things are expensive. I know they're going to cost something. I'm not trying to spend money. So where we at?
Fair enough. That is a great question. So bookkeeping programs, there are bookkeeping programs that are free, literally $0, and there are programs that go up to $30, depending on the nature of your business and what you need, et cetera, et cetera. So why do you need a bookkeeping program? A couple of reasons. As humans, we do not like to track our money. It's unless you just love to sit down and reconcile or categorize your transactions and really track like where I spent that $6 last week, that $75 the other week. The likelihood
not so much.
The likelihood, I'm the same way, honestly, and I'm in accounting. It's not fun. We, as entrepreneurs, we love to go out and meet people. We love to work on the creative side of business. The black and white financial piece is not sexy. So to require you, or to think that you're going to sit down, look at your bank account statement and really go through each transaction and put it in an Excel spreadsheet is unlikely. So that's where the bookkeeping program comes in. Bookkeeping programs nowadays link directly to your bank account or PayPal, depending on what you're using, and it'll pull those transactions into the program, and it'll start to memorize transactions that you do regularly. So if you have a regular $500 charge for your lease, let's say, it's going to recognize that and automatically categorize it for you. So that's a 3-step process so you don't have to worry about. The other nice piece about bookkeeping programs is the reporting. Once you get to a place where you're thinking about possibly hiring an assistant, or you want to get a lease, or you want to move into a bigger building, or you just want to expand your business in whatever way, these reports are going to help you really figure out if you're ready to do that. And if you are, great. If not, then you can start to figure out, okay, where do I need to be in order to make that happen? And lastly, for tax purposes, it is if you were ever to be audited, if you want to start working with a CPA or some sort of financial professional to really help you figure out where you can save money as far as taxes or come up with some sort of strategy, tax strategy, using a bookkeeping program is going to make that process a lot easier and a lot less expensive, because the more work the accountant has to do to organize your finances, it's going to cost you money. So if you already have it all somewhat organized for them, it's going to make it that much easier.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. A lot of stuff. I mean, I tried QuickBooks, and it's QuickBooks is marketed as being for the people, but even QuickBooks was a little too much for me. You know what I mean? I just want the numbers to look right. I want to be able to use those numbers to forecast and kind of predict what certain behaviors that I engage in, how that will impact my bottom line. For instance, like you were saying earlier, I'm thinking about moving into a bigger office. Can I put that number, that new lease, into my statements and kind of see what my cash flow is looking like after I take on this bigger lease? You know what I'm saying? That's all I want. Is that too much to ask for? I don't want all the pop-ups and the little what is that thing? The paperclip. You remember from Microsoft, the paperclip that pops up every time you hover over something and gives you a piece of advice. You're like, what are you talking about, man? I don't know what do you want from me? How much money do I have? Yeah. How much money do I have? How much can I spend? Right.
I totally remember that paperclip. And I don't know why every time I would hit X, it would still pop back up. I don't know what was
that paperclip was an asshole.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah.
I didn't like it.
There's no paperclip in Xero. And the thing, so you brought up QuickBooks. Xero is truly made for the people. And why I say that is because you sign into Xero and you see on your dashboard, is what they call it. The first page you see is everything that you could possibly need to know as an entrepreneur. So the top corner is how much cash do I have? That's like the most important thing for us, is how much cash do I actually have in the bank? At least it is for me. Like, I want to know what's in my bank account right now. And then over to the right is how much money is owed to me. Second most important thing, who owes me money right now and when is it coming in? Who's late? It's all right there. Bottom underneath that is who do I owe? So what bills do I have outstanding? And then underneath that is outstanding reconciliation. So any transactions that you've done that haven't been put into their category, their box, so to speak, that's there on that page. That's the front page, really clean, really sleek, really intuitive, and that's Xero. That's what I believe a bookkeeping program should be. It's really simple, really clean. I just want to know how much money do I have, what can I do with my money, and keep it going. And you brought up a good point about expanding. If you need a loan to expand into a new place, that bank or whomever you're going to get those funds from needs to know how your business is doing. And the only way to really show them that is to use a bookkeeping program, provide reports for them to see, okay, A, this is how that business is doing, and B, they actually take their business seriously because they've been keeping track of their financials.
Absolutely. And you can say, okay, can I afford this, kind of like Susie Orman style? Can I afford to buy this? Can I afford this new office? Can I afford my Lamborghini? All of that good stuff, right?
Oh my gosh, I want a Lamborghini.
I've test driven a couple of Lamborghinis. I love cars. And of all the cars I've test driven, I've never been happier with anything above a BMW 7 Series.
Oh, okay.
Or the M Series. I don't know. Lamborghinis, it feels weird. First of all, inside of it, it feels like a toy. Other than the fact that, you're in a, $200,000 piece of equipment. It felt like too low to the ground. There was a lot about Lamborghini I just didn't like. Now, that's not to say I would not drive the hell out of a Lamborghini. That's not to say I wouldn't buy a Lamborghini. But it'd kind of be like, I have a Lamborghini and what? It's kind of like that thing. But as far as, blazing up I-5, you give me an M series or a 7 series BM, not even a 7 series because those are big, but like the M series BMWs, my very, very, very first car was a BMW 325i. It was a peanut butter interior, chromed out wheels, black on
Ooh.
black. Like I had everything was just like blacked out. It was a beautiful piece of equipment, so I might
Oh,
have
that
bias. What was your
sounds
first car?
so beautiful.
Oh, it was,
Man,
the name was
that
a
sounds
Lexus.
nice.
The
Yeah,
name was a Lexus. It was the best. What was your
you
first
were
car?
going, you took a moment back down memory lane. I saw that look on your
Man,
face.
oh, it's such a pleasure to drive.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to share my first car. So I don't own a car now. I bike everywhere. And
Really?
I do.
Hold on, time out. But you're in San Francisco.
Yeah,
Biking in like Houston or Dallas, you're not biking anywhere.
not possible.
Atlanta, yeah, Atlanta's still a transit city, so unless you're like hyper local, like you're staying in Midtown, you're staying in Decatur. That's really hard. But San Francisco is really made for biking, and so is a city like San Diego. If you're staying in, the downtown area, you're not trying to go all the way out to like Lemon Grove or something. But if you're just in San Diego, San Diego is beautiful too. But yeah, break that down. That's got to save you a lot of money too, so that's a good thing.
Yes, it saves a lot of money. It's an immediate workout. If I want to go to the grocery store, I'm going to have to work to get there. So it's a good thing. But yeah,
Right.
my first car, I'm kind of embarrassed because you had a gorgeous first car. Mine was a 93 Taurus maroon. Maroon. That's all I have to describe it. It had like
Can we get a picture of that? I know you have a picture of it somewhere, so we're gonna post that up. So because the thing is, if you can go from that to where you are now, nobody has any excuse. Now, yes, that was my first car. What I neglect to mention is I think I was 23 when I got it. So from high school, from 16 to damn near 23, I was on public transportation, right? But I wasn't gonna accept anything less than exactly what I wanted, and I wanted a BMW, so I was like, I will be on public transportation until I can get this BMW. Got my credit up to par, did everything I needed to do. I was at the Department of Defense, so I obviously had the career backing to justify that purchase, but that's the other part of it. Like, for years, you were embarrassed in your maroon. Hold on, what was the model again? Let me write this down because
I
this is
don't
going on the
even know the
fly. I'm
model.
just
It
kidding.
was you're like, let me see what car this is. I really think it still had roll-up windows. I really think yes, it did. But yeah, that's a testament though, is yeah, if you wait out long enough, you're gonna get exactly what you want.
What were we at? What were we even talking about? We were talking about the toolbox. We were talking about bookkeeping programs.
I do want to say the
Yes.
most important thing is to find a system that works for you. So if construction paper works for you, do it. If you're consistent about it, that's fine. The most important thing is just to stay on top of your finances. So a bookkeeping program is great. I recommend it, but whatever you find to work best for you, do that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I've tried a lot of different things. So I can tell you that the construction paper system is not working. So, um, oh, my other question to you was when I'm ready to step it up again, I may or may not need a human CPA or a human accountant. At what point do I say to myself, okay, it's time to get an accountant, it's time to get a CPA, it's time to get a real live bookkeeper? And without getting too deep into the jargon, maybe you want to break down what those three individuals actually do. Because, of course, an accountant is different from a bookkeeper, I imagine. I'm a layman, so is that right?
You're not a layman. Yes, they are different. So there are three different areas of the accounting profession as it relates to being an entrepreneur. So there's the bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper, you can think of that person as data entry. They literally take, say you have a regular $50 charge for your internet, they're going to categorize that $50 charge to your internet account. That's what a bookkeeper does. The accountant takes that a step further. They take that information that the bookkeeper has done. They create reports. They let you know how you're doing cash flow wise. That's the person you really want to share that, hey, I really want to expand my team. I want to hire 2 more people by the end of the year. I want to get a new location. That's the person you need to share that with so that they can help you plan that out and let you know when you're ready to do that. And then the third person is the tax accountant. So that person is going to help you file your taxes, strategize so that you aren't paying a dime more than you should when it comes to taxes, and really helping you through. They should help you throughout the year strategize your tax planning. And so when are you ready for those? And with technology, I really feel that the bookkeeper's role is going to become obsolete with this tool. With tools, you as the entrepreneur can do your own bookkeeping. I truly believe that as your business continues to grow, you might need someone to take that over so that you can really focus on the other aspects of your business. But starting out, bookkeeping, you should have that covered. If you're entrepreneurs, you're smart enough to start a business, you're more than smart enough to do your books. The accountant, when are you ready to hire an accountant? That is really a personal question. I've seen entrepreneurs hire accountants before they've made their first dollar. So they are still, they're not making a profit, but they hire an accountant because they really want to expand quickly and they need that extra pair of eyes to help them plan financially. I've seen some entrepreneurs wait until they've hit the 70K mark. And I say the 70K mark because that's when you really start to see the tax benefits of being in business. That's when you start to think about, or before then, but definitely by then, start to think about moving from a sole proprietorship to an LLC or an S Corp is right at that 70K mark. So there are some entrepreneurs that wait until that time to look at hiring an accountant. I would say if you're thinking about hiring one, just take a look at your budget, see what you can afford. There are a lot of options where you can work with a financial professional at a low cost. You can look at companies or organizations like SCORE, the SBA, local communities. I live in Oakland, and there are some business assistance centers that you can link up with a financial professional. So look at your budget. And then secondly, just think about where you want to be a year from now. And do you need a financial professional to help you get there? Maybe. Or you might need a marketing professional. Or you might just need to suck it up and hustle and grind until working with someone. So really assess it for your own personal needs, your own personal budget, and then go with your gut.
Got it. How much should I be looking at paying an accountant if I have no frame of reference? If I've never hired an accountant before, what should I be looking to set aside?
That is a great question. And it does vary by accountant. I would say accountants that charge by the hour tend to be between 50 to 75 an hour, 60 to 75 an hour. If they're charging you a flat rate, it could be anywhere from $350 a month to $750 a month. If you're just starting out, again, look at your budget, make sure it fits, but sticking to someone that's 65 per hour or 500 a month or less would be about the area you would have to budget for.
Gotcha. Now you are an accountant, right?
I am.
So where do you fall in that range? Better question, what type of people do you work with? Do you work with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, or are you on the enterprise level? Where are you at?
Sure. So when it comes to my accounting work, that's transitioned into consulting. So I really help lifestyle entrepreneurs, and I define lifestyle entrepreneurs as being someone who started a business to help something beyond themselves. That's how I identify a lifestyle entrepreneur. They're passionate. You can't imagine doing anything else besides this. I don't care what's been thrown your way. You cannot think about doing anything else. So that's what I define a lifestyle entrepreneur to be. So I work with lifestyle entrepreneurs and helping them manage their finances. So really getting clear on where their money's going, but also building their business. So it's a little bit more than just an accountant. I'm more of a business coach with a bent towards the financial piece.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Just curious.
Yeah.
Little shameless plug. By the way, you are the queen of segues. You're pretty good at the segue thing. This is why I love interviewing other hosts, because you are talking about lifestyle entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur. And that is something I want to talk a little bit more about. How do we as entrepreneurs start to use all of these tools that you're giving us and tips and tactics to, become strategically competitive? outflank some of our competitors in the marketplace, grow our business. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be able to keep track of numbers. It's another thing to employ strategy to grow our enterprise. So how can we put all this information to use? We got the numbers, we got an accountant, I got the nice office, maybe I have my Lamborghini, but I'm still at risk from competitors in the marketplace. How do I use these numbers to protect myself and grow my business?
That is a great question. And I hope you don't mind, but we're going to delve a little bit into my personal philosophy on business. I truly don't believe there's anything. Competition is non-existent in my mind. You as an entrepreneur, there's no one like you, period, end of discussion. The way you process information, the way you reflect information, your perspective combined with your personal experiences and how you relate to your customers, no one can ever duplicate that. They can try to imitate that, but they can never duplicate that. And I think, and I can only speak for myself personally, the more I've turned inward and the more I've focused on myself and what I bring to the table, the more successful I've been and the more opportunities have come my way, regardless of what other people around me are doing. Now, we are business people. We do have to be aware of what other people are doing, whether that's because, maybe they inspire us. Maybe it's, that's someone that's kind of in my line of work. They're going after this niche. Maybe I should take a look at why they're doing that. Definitely stay aware of what's going on around you. Definitely, I believe in strategic alliances with what others may call competitors, because you can really help each other grow if both of you are open. So that's my philosophy as far as how to strategically build your business, turn inward, really develop yourself and what you bring to the table, and promote and hustle the heck out of that.
And that's one of the things that also attracted me to your online properties is you have a very strong personal brand. And I love that. I think that having a strong personal brand is the ultimate competitive advantage because there's only one you. And so I definitely think you're practicing what you preach. I love what you're doing in your space. Something I didn't ask you earlier is when I am ready to select an accountant, what features should I look for in a good accountant? How do I know if I have somebody worth paying?
Oh, I love this question. Thanks for asking. And I love it because I just did a post about this related to, I'm not sure if you remember the Rihanna video that just dropped, BBHM.
Yeah.
BBHMM, excuse me. And she's referring to an accounting firm that allegedly squandered $35 million of hers.
Really? See, I didn't know the backstory.
Yeah, so with that situation, I did use that situation to share what we can as entrepreneurs do in order to avoid having that similar experience, whether it's someone mishandling our funds or misappropriating them. So when looking for an accountant, the most important thing to consider is if that person has experience with your industry. So if you are within the music industry, if you're within the entertainment industry, if you're within branding, like Asad, make sure you are working with an accountant that either has clients, hopefully has clients within that space, but at least has some expertise or knowledge around some of the things that are going on within your fields. Because
it's amazing that you recommend that. I just finished interviewing Anthony Frazier of the Fat Startup and Tech 808. Speaking of Tech 808, he's going to be in Oakland this weekend.
Oh,
did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, check that out. Tech 808. He's going to be in Oakland. I don't know if we can get you the hookup this close, but definitely check out what he is doing. And Anthony Frazier also talked about the difference between dumb money and smart money when it comes to development, when it comes to investing, seeking financing for your startup, and bringing on angel investors. There's dumb money, which is, someone who's just interested in what you're doing. They're willing to fund you. Then there's smart money. Smart money can not only bring their money to the table, but they can also bring experience in that particular industry. So not only can they invest in your idea, but they can coach you as well. And so, I'm really happy that you brought up that topic. So find someone who is in your industry. So what you're telling me is that there are accountants that just focus on very specific industries, very specific sectors. Is that right? So we have accountants that just do accounting for beauty supply stores, maybe, or retail accountants. How does that work?
Sure, sure. I love that concept, smart and dumb money. Yes. So there are accountants it's becoming more and more of a trend within the industry to have a niche. And there are accountants like myself who used to only focus on beauty and fashion. There are accountants that only focus on retail. There are accountants that only focus on e-commerce. And like Anthony mentioned, they bring expertise, they bring potential contacts. Your accountant really should be like a business partner. You don't just want them looking over your financials. You want them to help you build your business. So if they can give some insight into how to do that because they've worked with other companies within your space or can make connections for you, introductions for you, that's going to be the difference between a good fit for you or not a good fit.
Great advice. Great advice. And so we have talked about resources that entrepreneurs should have in their toolbox. We have talked about what to look for in an accountant. We've talked about some growth strategies. We've talked about professional branding, digital currency. We've talked about a lot. And so I want to know, what do you feed yourself with intellectually to keep yourself on the edge? In other words, what are some of your favorite books? What are books that you believe that all entrepreneurs should be reading? And what are some other resources you can suggest to us? What do you get into in your off time?
That's a great question. And I love reading. Ever since I read that Warren Buffett reads, I don't know, like 10 books a month, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get on that level. So some of my favorite books to read, number one, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Every entrepreneur needs to read that. I think you cannot say that enough. I think I've read that book like 5 times. And
I'll agree with you. I think everyone that we've interviewed has recommended that book.
I love it.
So it must be worth reading. And for the family listening, we're going to include links to all of the resources that Danetha has recommended to us throughout this interview, including links to all of her properties online. So, okay, so Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, must read.
Must read.
What else you got?
Turn Pro by Stephen Pressfield. It's a really short read. It's probably like 90 pages. You could read it in an afternoon. What I love about that book, it's really dealing with the mindset of being an entrepreneur, which I don't think we talk enough about, is really becoming an entrepreneur. You know this, Asad, it's a personal development journey. And this book really touches on that. And, some of the sabotaging habits we may have as entrepreneurs, it really helps you identify that and overcome them.
What are some of yours?
That's a great question. I have quite a few. I was just talking to one of the reasons I love working with my clients is because I don't come to the situation as a professional. I come to it as a partner, and I'm really there to learn as much as I can give. And one of my clients, we had a call yesterday, and he said that one of his sabotaging habits is getting really, really excited about a project and going all in for about 2 weeks and then losing interest. And
we all do that.
Yes, we all do that. But when you really think about it and really reflect on, okay, why am I losing interest within this thing that I thought a month ago was going to change my life? That's definitely a sabotaging habit I have. And it's really what I have to learn to do is really training myself to stay on course and to work through projects even when I don't feel like it.
Real talk. I'm known for chasing rabbits. I am known for chasing rabbits. I mean, at any given time, I have 6 projects that I'm working on, in addition to doing client work, which are, 6, 7, 8, 9 websites at one time. So, I mean, it's really easy to be excited about something one day, and then when you start getting bogged down and you get into the details, you get into the weeds, you're like, I'm not feeling this at all. You know what I'm saying? So that's something all of us have. That's my big one, by the way, chasing rabbits, right? So I'll chase a rabbit pretty far down this path and then come back and it's like, okay, let me get back to work. And then I'll chase another rabbit a little ways and okay, let me get back to work. And then chase this project. That's something I've been working on for years. Like I've tried everything. I have all these productivity apps on my MacBook. Like I'll limit myself to a number of tabs because if I don't do that, I'll have like 50 tabs open and that's like my to-do list. Like, hey, I want to read this later on, so I'll just leave this tab open. 6 weeks later, and 60 tabs later, I'm like, why did I open this tab? What's going on here? You know what I mean? And it's all bad. So anyway, I was just curious. Anyway, keep going. So
and yes, and
Turn Pro by Stephen Pressfield.
Stephen Pressfield.
See what I mean? That's me chasing rabbits. But go ahead.
But that's what makes you such a great host, though. And I do think as an entrepreneur, it's not seeing our habits as bad. It's just being aware of them and working through maybe the sabotaging aspects of it. Chasing rabbits isn't bad because you're chasing opportunities, but it's staying the course with it.
That's right. That's right. Holding the line. That is critical. Yeah. So what else do you like? So I have Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which for the family listening is obviously a must read. If you haven't read that, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to turn this off. Go to Amazon right now and grab that book. Turn Pro or Turning Pro?
Turn Pro.
Turn Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And then what else are you reading right now?
So I'm not reading this right now, but definitely a book I recommend is Return to Love by Marianne Williamson.
Ooh.
That, so it has a spiritual bent, if that's the correct term for it. That completely changed my way of approaching business. How I mentioned before,
really?
Completely changed it. And when I say completely changed my approach to business, it completely changed the way I view life as well. I read that about a year and a half ago. And the point that I made about not seeing competition as competition, but really allies and turning inward, that book helped me realize my value as a person and that it's not dependent upon what other people are doing. They can continue to go about their way. Them succeeding is not taking away from my success, and vice versa. My success is not taking away from others' success, and really focusing on developing myself and loving myself, which is has been my journey. That's been the biggest piece for me, really, this journey of self-love as an entrepreneur. That's been my path.
I love that. And something that you said when you were describing the book and your journey is the fact that someone else's success doesn't take away from your success. And in fact, as an entrepreneur, I've positioned myself so that the more successful others become, the more successful I become. And to me, that is the essence of, we all have our entrepreneurial philosophy. For me, the essence of my entrepreneurial philosophy is the more successful I can help my clients become, the more successful I can help others become on their path through consciousness, on their path through personal development, on their path through entrepreneurship, the more successful I'll become. So I really love that. What do you think? Am I being too woo-woo?
I'm so glad you said that because we could
Nelson,
have a
edit that part out. I don't use words like woo.
No, don't edit it out, Nelson, because we should have a whole other discussion about the woo-woo side of being an entrepreneur, because I really think that's the only way. This is crazy. I will say being an entrepreneur is crazy, and you have to, whatever you want to call it, something higher than you, bigger than you, whatever words you want to put to it, there is something that's helping you along, and tapping into that woo-woo side is what keeps me going.
There definitely has to be, because I can think, to some nights I'm up 4 o'clock in the morning and, not waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, being up until 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then having to turn right back around for a 9 a.m. session. That's real. That's real. And I don't think a lot of people are cut out for that. I think a lot of people actually like the discipline that's enforced on them by having a legit job. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But being out here in the wild, as I like to put it, it's a whole different game, because you're literally out here in the wild. The rules that apply in a corporate setting don't necessarily apply to you. You're structuring your business while at the same time, oftentimes struggling to feed yourself. In your part of the world in San Francisco, I've read tale after tale of people working for Google and sleeping in their car while they're interning, or they're going through their startup phase and they're literally sleeping in their car. Like, it's a thing now. Like, people publish whole websites on here's how to sleep in your car, right? You go and take showers at the YMCA, and you go and eat at Publix. Like, Publix has like the ready-made meals, or Whole Foods. You go and that's your refrigerator, so to speak. So it's a thing. It's a struggle, and being out here in the wild is no joke, but at the same time, it's liberating. So just like going from a captive environment to the wilderness, you're free. You're free to succeed or fail on your own merits. And I think that is a beautiful thing. Danetha Doe, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Before you take off, though, give us some closing thoughts and some calls to action.
Sure. I just want to say I absolutely love that analogy that you just shared. Absolutely beautiful picture. Yes, thank you so much for having me on today, Asad. For those that want to connect with me, please visit my site, www.danethadoe.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. There you'll hear all of my tips, the behind the scenes of what it's like to actually be an entrepreneur. I know a lot of times, like we mentioned, it's glamorized, and it's not always glamorous. So I share the behind the scenes and tips that I don't share in my blog posts. If you go to my site, you'll see a lot of writing that I've done, and my newsletters where I share my insider tips. So definitely join there and connect with me on Twitter at Danetha Doe. I would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. How do you keep track of your time? Because you're doing a lot. We're going to keep this interview going. No, I'm going to cut it off right here. How do you keep track of your time, though? I'm going to tell you what I do, okay? So I use Trello. Are you familiar?
I've heard of it. How do you use Trello?
So Trello, you have, and this is how I run my whole organization. So United Black America as an organization, we use 5 things. We use Dropbox. We use Google Drive. So Dropbox is where we store published documents. Google Drive is where we have all of our live documents. So anything that we're working on. So if you and I are working on a project, right, I'll share that Google Doc with you, and we'll just go back and forth, and you know how Google Docs works. Yeah. Then we use Slack. Slack is real-time communication, right? You know Slack?
I do. I love Slack.
I love Slack. It's great, and it's fun, and it's pretty easy to use. So all of the departments within our organization and within my company now, my agency that's taking shape, every department is divided into channels, of course. We use workingon.co to update one another on what we're literally working on a day-to-day basis. And when I have web clients, it lets them know, hey, I'm not just farting around and taking your money. I'm actually working on your e-commerce interface, or whatever the case is. And we use Trello. Trello gives you a big picture, right? So everything that's going on. So, this channel might have this project and these deliverables. You can see all that on Trello, and it's really easy. So it's like columns, right? So on Trello, you have these things called cards. So let's say we have a project team, right, that's developing a website for whatever reason. So that project team will have a Trello column, and everything that they need to do is on that Trello column. And as it gets done, they can check it off, or they can move it to archives, or whatever the case is. And then Slack, of course, automatically updates that, because Slack is interfaced into everything. So right there on Slack, you can see everything that your entire organization is doing. And then, of course, we have Google Calendar in there, so we can see everything that's upcoming. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to spend any money to run a world-class enterprise. And I got those tips from other interviewees. Right now, we're only 2 interviews into this season, but I've interviewed 9 people.
Wow.
And 3 interviews ago, I interviewed the founders of the Bay app, BAE. Before anyone else is the acronym, but it's like literally Black Tinder or whatever, or Black. It's a Black dating app, because we tend to be either fetishized or overlooked on a lot of dating platforms. Just so happens I'm single, and so I'm dating, and I'm out here in the field, in the wild, in the Thunderdome that is the Atlanta dating scene. And I noticed that because, I'd been in a relationship for something like 9 years prior to being single. And I'm like, okay, so let me try all of this. And it's kind of like, no black guys. Or, I want a black guy, but I want them in a certain kind of way, meeting these certain criteria. And I'm like, get out of here.
Like
I'm
what?
all for when I'm chasing rabbits. Like, black guy must be 6'3", $250,000 a year, college educated, advanced degree. But you don't give everybody else those criteria. You know what I'm saying? I want to meet cool people. Right. Can I meet cool people? I'm not trying to do all of that with you right now. I don't even know you. But anyway, I'm off on one. I'm chasing rabbits. Bay app, the founders of the Bay app, right? Because they're in two different places. One is a Dartmouth graduate student, so Ivy League brother, he's from Senegal, and the other brother is in New Jersey. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, how do you all manage something as complex as app development? I don't care how
Yeah.
simple the app, it's complicated. But their app is a world class app. I mean, they're one of the top 30 dating apps in Africa right now, something crazy like that. Top 100. They're in Apple and Android, and they're doing really, really well. And they gave me a list of tools. And so, boom, Trello, Slack, Dropbox, Google Drive, and working on .co, in addition to, of course, Skype and communications platforms like that. So,
Sure. How much is
yeah.
Trello?
It is free, and then I think it is like, again, $9 a month. So
Really? Okay, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, well, I use Dropbox, of course, Google Drive. Basecamp is how I manage working with
Basecamp.
teams and my clients. So,
Hmm.
although I'm open to trying something else too, Basecamp is cool because I like that I use it takes me out my email inbox and using that as my to-do list. So it gets me into another platform. And then we can attach Google Docs to it, attach files. I can track and see where everyone's at on a project. They can track where I'm at if it's a client that wants to see where
Right.
I'm at. And it does push notifications to me. So if someone were to say, hey, I need this done, it will go to my phone or my email if I
Love
wanted
that.
to. Yeah, so
Love
that's,
that.
but it's something that I'm always trying to tweak and improve because, yeah,
As am
it's
I.
tough.
As am I. Anything but email. Email
Ugh.
sucks. Can we talk about how much I hate my email inbox?
I,
And the fact that right now, when I open it up, I'm going to get 50 notifications and I probably have 6,000 unread messages across all my emails. It's great. It's great.
it's
It's
great.
great. I hate you, email. I'm going to open this thing up now. It's like, yeah, nice, nice, nice. And it's just going to be all day long with the little. You have a MacBook or are you PC?
Both.
Yeah, so when you like open up your mail application on Mac, you get the little thing at the top,
Yeah,
and it just never stops.
it's annoying. I don't know what you do, but with me, if I haven't read an email within 60 days, it's automatically deleted. Like,
I like that.
just delete all of it. Go, bye. And it's so nice because at some points it usually lasts like 2 seconds, but then it's all clean. It's like, oh, I haven't
It
talked to you.
is.
And then more come. Yeah, I hate you. Oh, I
And
hate
3 months later, yeah, you got to do. I'm about to do. I'm about to go nuclear. I'm about to push the button and just say, hey, delete all.
Yep.
I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care.
If it's that
But there's gonna
important.
be something in there like, hey, did you get that email? I was like, what email? But the beautiful thing about it is people reach out to you when you don't get emails
Yes.
and they're like, did you get that email? I was like, I did not. And I was like, let me resend it to you. Okay, now I got it.
Thank
You know what
you.
I'm saying? And then the Nigeria spam
uh,
and the anyway. I'm off on one. I'm chasing rabbits again. All right, family. So that has been this week's interview. And as usual, I like to do a giveaway at the end of these interviews to make sure that you all are taking action on the information that you got here today. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to follow our guest today at Danetha Doe. That's at DANETHADOE on Twitter. Okay. I'm going to include a convenient click to tweet button on the show notes. And so you'll be able to find everything you need right there. So just hit click to tweet. And what I want you to answer is what you learned from today's interview. I want to see that on Twitter. And Danetha is going to be sponsoring our giveaway this week. Danetha, tell the ladies and gentlemen what they will receive if they are chosen as the winner.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me on here. And I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
to see those tweets come through. So we're going to randomly select a winner, and I will be giving away a 1 hour free consultation helping you work through one challenging aspect within your business. So my background's in the financial space. We'll definitely work through maybe organizing your finances, and hopefully how to figure out how to grow the financial side of your business as well. So one challenge that you have within your business, we'll work through that together, and we'll leave you with hopefully a couple of ways that you can improve your business.
Great giveaway. I might have to take advantage of that myself. So, Danetha, it has absolutely been our pleasure. Learned a lot, had fun doing this interview. I can't think of a better way to wrap up my work week. So, thanks again for coming on. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You were so much fun, Asad. This has been my
Thank you.
pleasure.
You too. All right, peace, family. That's been today's episode of United Black America Radio. Look, if you enjoyed today's episode, I need you to do one thing for me, all right? If you don't do anything else, don't just download these episodes and bounce and wait for the next one. You heard me? Do something. Take action. And here's what I need you to do. I need everybody to go to Stitcher Radio, where this show is hosted, all right? And I'm going to leave a link to it in the show notes, and leave us a 5-star review. It takes you like 2 seconds. Right? But it does a lot for us as a show. It gets the word out there, right? It shows Stitcher Radio that we're serious about what we're doing. And earlier I went on that rant about how you all complain that we don't have black this or that, black that, and yet you don't support. So get up off of your proverbial behinds, head over to Stitcher Radio and leave us a 5-star review. That's all I'm asking. Make sure you're supporting our guest today, Danetha Doe. Give her a Twitter follower. And of course, you can get in on that contest that we're running today. Instructions on how to do all of that will be included in the show notes as well. So family, until next week, you know the drill. Hold the line, hold the line, hold the line. And I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.